Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host Clayton at Clates AFC on X, and to review the lovely 3-0 victory against Nottingham Forest, it's the man that was actually sat next to me at the game. It's Bobby. Welcome back to the show. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy to have managed to get a ticket. Thank you for your help and coming down to watch a very enjoyable win.
No, pleasure. Yeah, it was a great win. And the thing that made me laugh was you were just kind of keeping your opinions to yourself, right? So we were obviously chatting, but I remember the distinct sentence of, I'm going to keep my thoughts for the pod. So I have no idea what you thought of the game. I have no idea what you thought about certain individuals. So we'll go into it. For anyone new here, we do these reviews every week. So we'll go through kind of player by player review, talk about the game, the key moments, and then we'll do a little bit of a statistical look at the game, see if that kind of adds up with what we thought. And then we'll spend a few minutes touching on the Sporting game on Tuesday, because the lineup yesterday was something that I think surprised a few. And I think there's a few people thinking, oh, did he pick the team with one eye on Tuesday? But let's get into the game. I think first question, I guess it is a question. How would you summarize yesterday?
I remember sitting there 23, 24 minutes in thinking this is the best we've played all season. And you could just tell the difference having the right combinations. Odegaard having Saka back next to Saka having Odegaard back next to him, having Marino with Odegaard for the first time this season, and just having the starting fullbacks as well. You could see the difference. You could see how it managed to bring out the best in everyone around them as well, and just seeing how the combinations of the players made a difference on the pitch as well, and how the cogs were when everyone's there.
Yeah, 100%. I think for me that I agree in terms of like that first half hour. I was like, oh my God, like some of the, you can vouch for this, some of the noises I was making. I think in a different context, I would have been arrested.
I remember a certain un-PG thing that you said during the game, but I'll not say it yet.
I was in awe with what I was watching, and how the first half was only 1-0. I have no idea. But just to add to that summary, I think for me, it was like the perfect game. I think we rotated the squad nicely, got minutes into the legs of like some of the fringe players that haven't really been able to play. Like Jesus, we'll talk about in terms of his performance, but did he complete 90 minutes or did he go off? Either way, he played a substantial amount of games, played a substantial amount of the game yesterday. And regardless of what people think of his performance, I think that's helpful in terms of just building his confidence and his load, hopefully. The subs all came in and impacted, and like in the fact that we were able to rest/rotate the likes of Rice, Havertz, I just think it was the perfect day. And yeah, you spoke about the combinations there, and some of the football was just absolutely mesmerizing, and it made me laugh because some of the comments and analysis I've seen around Arsenal, like in the last, well, since Odegaard got injured, essentially, has been absolutely mind blowing. I know we've played a different style, but how people have the inability to kind of ignore the context and come up with these statements like they're just a posh Stoke and this and that, I find it fucking mind blowing. So, like in the preview on Friday, spoke about I thought it would be a tight game. We completely demolished Forest. Like they couldn't get near us. Nuno was very complimentary in his post-match presser, saying we dominated all phases. And I think if we play like that consistently, are able to get some of the fringe players involved, rotate the load, I think the next couple of months should be quite fun. Let's go for it. I feel like you're going to say something.
I think Arteta summed it up well. I think it was his post-match conference. He says we've suddenly gone from training with 12 players to 19, and that's made the difference on the squad as a whole itself as well. So you can see that on the pitch. So you can imagine they've all got the fighting, well, knowing that they now all have to also fight for positions as well and don't have to be as tired when they come onto the pitch is probably going to help us through this next little period into the new year.
Yeah, that's such a good point you make there. Like I saw that presser, and I thought that was a key point as well. Just it makes sense, right? Like this, I think the biggest thing for me was the Chelsea game where we saw the likes of Rice who weren't physically 100%. Like Odegaard, that was his first game back. There was another game where I can't remember if it was the Chelsea one or another one, but Ben White was playing, and I remember I said it, other podcasters said it, every man and woman and their dog and in the Arsenal community was saying it. Ben White is not fit. It then came out that he had to have an operation and stuff. So I think we're now starting to see that group return, but a genuinely match fit group. And like you say, we've kind of gone from training with 12 to 18, and that is the perfect timing as we're entering the December period with games every 3 days. So next question before we get into the player by player. What was your reaction when the lineup dropped? Did it surprise you? Had you predicted
A
anything?
shock, yeah. So my prediction on the Friday night was that Saka would start, but obviously I expected the rest of the full 11 to come out as well, with Rice playing. Obviously, there was a team went round before the team news came out, which had Partey and Havertz and stuff starting. So to see 3 players in that team that we weren't expecting was quite a surprise, especially the way Trossard obviously hobbled off midweek with Belgium. We weren't obviously expecting him to be back for a few weeks, never mind straight into the first 11 of that weekend. So very surprising by Jorginho, Trossard and Jesus, but very excited to see Merino, Saka and Odegaard all in the centre of midfield.
Yeah, no, I was so surprised. Like on the Trossard one, I did think there was a chance he would play, but like sub 10%. Just because Arteta did say in the pre-match presser that he was all right and trained and everything. I loved the lineup when I saw it drop.
Mhm.
Like I need to think. I've got this like opinion that's in my head that I haven't really voiced, and I'm not sure how to phrase it. But I have got this concern that Arsenal have become a bit too much of a functional, powerful team and have lost the element of technique per se. Like even with Odegaard, like, and it's around the midfield recruitment. Like again, like I haven't really formed my opinion to now to say this, but I do feel like Declan Rice is a bit of an awkward player in our squad where if you have him at 6, I don't think his ball progression is as good as Thomas Partey. And if you have him at 8, I think there's only certain game states that suit him there. I want to see a midfield 3 of Rice, Merino, Odegaard, because I think that it's nicely balanced and we may not have that reliance on the ball progression side of things from Rice at the base there with that midfield, and depending on who's in fullback as well. But I've had this niggling inkling that the midfield dynamics are just awkward. So personally, when I saw it drop, I absolutely loved the team. I think it just screamed technique. Like, and in pre-season, okay, pre-season caveat supply, we absolutely smoked by Leverkusen, and I'm sure the team that day had Jorginho in the midfield, had Jesus up top, had Trossard in there, and like they're the players that are your ball players. They're the ones that control. Like, well, more Jorginho controls tempo. He completely runs the game. He slows it down when he needs to. He accelerates it when he needs to. Jesus, again, like we'll talk about his performance later, but we know he's a technical player. Trossard, very technical. Like they're all pocket players. And for me, I could see a clear strategy there straight away. We'll talk about whether it was with one eye on Sporting, but I also think it was one eye just on the immediate. Like he didn't want to go and have that physical battle with Forest. He wanted to completely outplay them. And I think it showed. So when I saw the lineup drop, I was really excited personally. Yeah. And I mean, out of let's go player by player. So yeah, a couple minutes on each. Do you want to take it away with David Reyes? Anything you want to?
I thought it was very safe. It was just, I think Forest's best opportunities were sticking the ball into the box, and I think there was only one ball where I think Ria might have dropped it from a high claim. The rest of the time, I think everything was sensible and clean, and there wasn't any opportunity during that match where I thought these look like they're going to score. Always had that, especially just before the international break. It always felt there's a goal coming, there's a mistake between the back line and Ria between them, but it just felt very solid and secure. Yeah, so I thought it was quite a clean game from Ria. He did at times, I felt, hold on to the ball a little bit too much, slowed down the game a bit too much, especially with how quickly we started the game. But you can just imagine that was just to allow the players to get into position so we could start an attack from where they felt comfortable doing it.
I think I know the specific thing you're talking about there with Ryan. There was one point where the ball came out to him. I think it was in the second half, and like Saliba had acres of space, and rather than passing it out, he just kept. He does this thing where, like, which it's a good thing in some aspects, but there's something about it that makes me really anxious. I don't know what it is. It's just like it screams doubt when I know it probably isn't doubt. He probably knows exactly what he's doing, but the aesthetics of how he does it makes him look really unsure. Like he just kind of rolls the ball with his studs on the top of it, and he's consistently just moving it. And Saliba was just open. I was like, pass the fucking ball. So yeah, but I agree. I think he played very well. I think despite holding on to it for too long in aspects of the game, I think there were others where he pinged it out very quickly, very aggressively, and like, yeah, it's not one for right now in this section, but just in case I forget it, like the way we sometimes went from the first line into Odegaard out to Saka, like we played through the thirds in 2 passes and we were back to front in seconds in multiple times in this game. And I think an element of that was in Raya's distribution as well of the defenders. And that takes us into the defense. Jurriën Timber, where do you want to start on him?
It's just fantastic. He just looks like he just has so much time on the ball, despite probably having like half a yard of space. Like Real would find him straight away from a pass, and you would see Odegaard and Saka running. You think, well, how's he getting that ball to them? And he would find one of them every time. And it was just like, how's this? How would we have profited from this guy being fit last season? Just the elevation and the levels that we'll see when he's there. Yeah, he's just a fantastic footballer. It just makes it look so easy as well, especially with having Odegaard and Saka in front of him. I can just see a lot of left sides of defenses worrying when we come to play them with that combination on the right hand side.
Yeah, that right hand combination was like absolutely unreal. I think what I'm gonna say is not a detriment to White at all. I think like White will have games where he's suitable at right back, and Timber has games where he's suitable at right back. But I just think what Timber gives us in the middle and final third, I don't think there's a player that plays right back in the squad that can give the certain technical elements. Like he looks like a number 10 in certain areas. Like I think with White, he's comfortable going into midfield. He can do the kind of decoy overlap. He's a good runner. He's an intelligent runner. Timber is an intelligent runner as well as a number 10 technically. Like he is so comfortable in the pockets. And I think that's the thing with like the trio of Timber, Odegaard, Saka. Like either one of them can receive it inside out. And it's not something you expect from a defender. And yeah, he's just got so much like charisma in the way he plays football. Like he looks like quite a chilled, laid back guy.
I know it's very nonchalant, everything he does,
That's
isn't
the
it?
word.
Just like
Yeah.
It's just like you can tell he's concentrating, but like he doesn't have to think too hard about what he's doing. He just knows once he puts his ball through this, it's going to be where he wants to put it as well.
Yeah, and like his shoulder feints and everything, he's just so good. And obviously, he put the ball in the back of the net, but in the stadium, how long do you reckon we were waiting for that VAR?
That would have been a good 2-3 minutes.
I think it's way longer than 2. Yeah.
We only got 5 minutes of added time at the end of that first half as well with that injury. So, but no, it felt like an absolute eternity. I haven't seen it back yet. I haven't watched any highlights, so I don't know just how close it was, but it just felt like, yeah, it's the first time I've experienced it in a stadium, not watching at home, where you can obviously see what they're doing on TV, and that is so frustrating. Very frustrating.
Yeah, it's not so good.
I just remember thinking at home it doesn't feel that bad because you can see them drawing the lines on TV and stuff like that. Even if they just put that on the screen so you can see the process that's going through without communicating anything, it would resolve a lot so you can see how tight it is. But just sitting there with nothing except VAR decision of potential offside, that's just like, it's a joke. And I think the VAR refereeing bodies must be aware of how bad it is.
I remember you saying that yesterday in terms of like it was your first time experiencing it in person. And yeah, it's something that I just can't believe they are letting it proceed with in that manner. Like for the match going fans, it is an abysmal experience. I genuinely think that was like 4 to 6 minutes in terms of how long it took, and there's no communication. And I've also not watched the highlights or anything, but I did see a 30-second video of it doing the rounds, and it looks so marginal. And like obviously it was probably offside in terms because they did the lines and everything, but like I come back to this, like, is that what we want football to be? Like, that's a conversation for another day, but like getting to the point where we get like toenails being called offside, and like this is what it's on the whole thing of like the people that love the technicality of the law. Like the same people that were saying like the red card should have been red cards and this and that. Like, are they then saying they want these goals ruled out for those minuscule offsides that aren't clear and obvious? Like us, absolutely mind blowing. But yeah, Julian Timber, take a bow, son, absolutely phenomenal. And is he scored for us? I don't think he has he?
Pre-season, I think he did.
Oh no, but like competitive.
Competitive. I can't think of anything now.
Nah, so yeah, he'll get it. I think he was yeah. The irony, I said this to you yesterday, was in the FPL world, a lot of people were asking me my advice, my opinion on like Calafiori or Timber, like to add to a Gabriel Saliba, and I did say like Timber's minutes are more secure than Calafiori, but I just had this inkling that Calafiori would be the higher upside player. Timber was, I think, average position wise, a lot more consistently in the final third than Calafiori was yesterday. So yeah, would like to revise my prediction and opinion on that. The centre back duos, I don't think there's much to say here, to be honest.
It's just a very sensible game from them. Wasn't, I think, the most attack. Obviously, there was plenty of corners, but the most attacking we're seeing with Saliba was quite aggressive, pushing up. I think just so you could see some of the ball, but other than that, there wasn't really anything to know from the centre backs. Kept it clean, kept it tidy.
Yeah, I do think they handled Awaniyi quite well, to be fair, because when I saw the Forest lineup drop, I was more concerned that Awaniyi was starting instead of Wood, despite Chris Wood's form this season, just because the profile of what Awaniyi gives them and tactically how they would set up, like in terms of camping it in and then hitting us fast on the break. And I thought they dealt with him really well. I must say, actually, I think Saliba's been subpar this season.
Yeah.
I thought this was a much better game from him. Like, I think he doesn't always strike the ball cleanly, in my opinion. Like, he seems to like hit it with a bit of a bobble, or his first touch is sometimes a little bit off. Like, in my opinion, I think in this game, he just looked more technically clean, more assured. And yeah, that was good. I think, yeah, jumping around a bit, but like post-international break as well, to come back with that level of like the whole team here, not just Saliba, to come back with that level of concentration and technical level, I think was really impressive, because we do see sometimes those elements dropping. Calafiori, I think he didn't have much to do. I do think there were elements of the game where he was slightly out of position and was a bit rash in his passing, but I don't have much to say on him. He's a great option, just wasn't the game for him to really shine because the right-hand side was doing bits, in my opinion. Do you have any thoughts on him from yesterday?
No, I think he just had a very, what's the word I'm looking for? He did what he needs. Yeah, he did what he needed to during the game. I think there'll be other games where he'll be more of a factor, especially with Martinelli in front of him. But I think today was a game where it was just a lot more down the right hand side. So that's where the majority of the play came from. And seeing as we work way forward, there was times where a lot more of the attacking players had drifted to the right hand side because nothing was coming down the left. So yeah, he did what he needed to and just kept it tidy, and that's all we needed yesterday from that left hand side.
Now, going into midfield, Jorginho, I've seen a lot of mixed opinions on social media and group chats on him. I've got I wouldn't say a strong opinion. I've got my own opinion, which I'm very what's the word? I'm confident in my own opinion on what I thought of his game, but curious what you thought. He obviously got the yellow card and was taken off at halftime. But yeah, again, we didn't really speak about this yesterday. So what did you think of him in the first half?
I thought his yellow card was very soft. And I think from there, his involvement in the game had to be very limited, because I think we had 2 fouls and we got 2 yellow cards in the space of the first 30 minutes, and Forest had about 7 or 8 fouls up to that point with nothing. So I think his main thing was get through the first half and don't pick up a second yellow card, and then we'll assess from there. I think once he got that yellow card, it was kind of like let's just make sure we don't go down to 10 here. His job obviously was just to pick it up and carry it in, and then find which ones of the fullbacks were free in space and expand the build up from there. But once that booking came in, I just think he was time was ticking until half time for him.
Yeah, I think pretty similar. The only thing I'd say is I'm maybe more high on him than everyone else was. I thought he played very well. I think, yeah, like you, I thought the yellow card was stupid. Not from him, as in bad refereeing. Like I thought that I don't want to be that guy. I know Arsenal fans have names we've got ourselves a name in terms of how much we complain about the ref, but I thought it was fucking awful. Like, so it was just the inconsistency in the yellow cards. I must say he got better in the second half. But what was the one? There was one specific one where even from an Arsenal perspective, like he gave a foul to, oh no, I'm getting it confused. There were two incidents.
Was it who was it that so there was one not long after Jorginho's booking where an Arsenal player went to pass the ball, someone came through the back of him, they got the free kick and Arsenal picked up a booking when was it Saka's booking? I can't remember
but the other one that's in my head is from the opposition's perspective. Like, I was genuinely empathizing with the opposition. So this is where it's not an agenda against Arsenal, it's just the ref is bad. Like, there was a foul where the ref only gave it because the crowd piped up.
Oh yeah, the booking.
And I forgot what it was.
Yeah,
but
it was in the second half. I remember the one because he turned and said, yeah.
It was like, so Arsenal committed a foul. No, sorry, Forest committed a foul on an Arsenal player. It wasn't a foul, but then the crowd obviously piped up and stuff, and then he gave it, and I was like, that to me is a sign of a ref that is, he's lost it. Yeah, it doesn't have control. Like, he's being swayed by the crowd, and like, I know that was to Arsenal's advantage, but on another day, it's not. You want a referee to be able to control the game and be decisive and not swayed by those external factors. I thought he was pathetic, to be honest. But yeah, Jorginho, I thought he was very good, in my opinion. I thought he was pinging it around nicely, doing what he does, controlling the tempo. I think it was him that actually anticipated the ball and played it out to Saka or Odegaard for the first goal. But I feel like Jorginho is someone, like, he's not physical, but his anticipation and his interception game is like really good. And I would like to see him used more. I prefer him. I think Thomas Partey has been our best midfielder this season, but I don't think Thomas Partey gives the best version. I don't think with Thomas Partey in the team, we get the best version of Arsenal. I like Jorginho's style when he's in there. I think we control the game more. I think, I don't know. We just keep the ball more. We keep it ticking. So, I thought he did well. It was encouraging to see that performance despite the yellow card. And in my opinion, he only went off because of the yellow. Arteta did acknowledge that in the presser. So I think if we can use him more, especially with some of the games coming up every 3 days, I think that would be great. Mikel Merino, any thoughts?
I thought he had a very good game. I think I'd said it to you in the stadium. We'd seen flashes of what he can be when he came on for that cameo at the end against Chelsea, and it was just kind of a preview for what he can do when he's got the right players around him. He feels like a system player, someone that needs the right combinations around him. So I think so long as he's got, say, Odegaard alongside him, you'll see the best of Merino. But at times where we're having to rotate, you might see him drop out for maybe Trossard in the middle, or Havertz dropping in and Jesus up front, just to get the best out of the team rather than building a team around Merino.
Yeah, agree. I think he I think he was good. Like, not amazing, not bad. He was making those runs into the box quite a lot for some crosses. Technically, I think some of his passing can sometimes, I don't know, I still get the vibe that he's like a yard off it sometimes, but I think that will come with time, with adjusting to the new league. But I can definitely, same as you, like, that cameo against Chelsea gave me encouragement into what he can be. And I can't wait for the day where we finally see everything in place that's first choice, like Declan Rice there with Merino, with Odegaard. I just want to see how that works, because you could see times when Odegaard picked up the ball and Merino would make himself available. What I really like about Merino is, because he's a lefty, like when the ball goes there, it just opens up and goes out to either left back or left winger a bit easier, a la Granit Xhaka. Or I think when you've got a Rice there, it just doesn't move as fluidly out to those wide areas. I thought he was solid. No more, no less to say on him. Martin Odegaard.
Don't ask us for any words, because there just isn't any words for what some of the things he was doing yesterday were just disgusting.
He was a lot of the reason I was making some incredibly suspect noises. Yeah.
So I think there was the way does he step overs catches the defenders out, where usually it's like you come in, like, step over the ball, out step, in step, and he does it the opposite way. And like you can just tell, like, despite you knowing that's how he does it, the defenders still just can't read that, and he manages to do that, and then flick the ball with the outside of his foot into someone running past him with space. It's just like, how can you do all of that and put perfect weight on the ball? It just looks so smooth doing it as well. It's just like, I know I would be on my backside trying any of that. It's just it's just, you can tell what we've missed not having him in the team. It was just such a fantastic display.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think for me, it's just his ability to create and force combinations everywhere. Like he'll just somehow find himself. So like there's twos everywhere on the pitch, and he just seems to find himself in the middle of it and make a three and make a triangle everywhere you go. And I think that's what, like, this game for me was the first time in a long time where I saw consistent combination play. Like I think that's Arsenal at our best. Like we have a structure that we maintain, but we're quite fluid in the, like Trossard was moving over to the right a lot, and then I wasn't really paying attention to see who took his place in that structure when he was drifting. But that's us at our best. We maintain a structure, but we have positional fluidity as we're moving around. And I think Odegaard is the heartbeat of that. You could see it immediately against Chelsea, just the way he instigates the press, the way he's instructing people behind to go. And I think you just can't quantify and put a data metric on the influence and importance of someone like that. Like we know about his technique, we know about his on the ball quality, but I think it's all of the soft factors that come with him as well. Like there was just a different aura around Arsenal yesterday.
Yeah.
It did feel like, I remember before, what was the first game we lost? Was it Bournemouth? It was Bournemouth,
It
wasn't
was
it?
Bournemouth. Yeah, we just
Yeah.
drew against Liverpool, and then Bournemouth was the defeat.
Yeah, so before Bournemouth, like even outside of Arsenal circles, people were saying, could this Arsenal team go invincible? And it was like the obvious answer was no, but it was more to illustrate like that the level of dominance Arsenal was showing in terms of just not being easy to beat. Like it didn't look like we would be able to get beaten at all. And I think Martin Odegaard there is central to that, because it's offensively what he does and defensively in terms of instigating the press and the knock-on impact that has on the back line. And I think this kind of Arsenal run, which started against Forest, has been well documented. But I think you'll see that level of dominance in games. It won't just be a sequence of good results. Some of the performances, assuming everyone mentally and technically is on it, will, I think, completely blow people's minds. Like West Ham next week, if we play like we did yesterday and Lopetegui's still in charge, that could easily be a 6-0 like it was last year. Like we could absolutely annihilate them. So Martin Odegaard, I just don't know what to say about him. Like him and Saka, it's like they are in the same brain. And I'd add Timber there as well. He felt very much on their wavelength. Go on, I feel like you were going to say something there.
Yeah, it's just another thing that he brings as well, as I said yesterday, is just the defenders aren't tripling up on Saka now. They know they've got something else they need to think of, so that's providing more space for Saka to do what he can do and freeing up obviously the overlap as well. So we've gone from feeling like we're constantly stifled for space to just, I think it felt like we just suffocated them and always had someone free, despite obviously Forest probably defending as well as they have the rest of the season. It just felt like we constantly always had an extra man somewhere, and they just didn't have an answer for that. And I think that's come from what Odegaard provides and his ability to find a pass or drop a shoulder and give himself a half yard to free himself to send someone else free.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because yeah, we were able to isolate Saka against Moreno quite a lot in this game. Like even what I said earlier about like playing through the thirds, getting it out to Saka, and then bang, within 4 to 7 seconds, we're in their final third. I think a lot of that was Odegaard's ability to drift, like you say, and attract in other areas. And it's not even just in that right half space. He does it when he goes centrally. Like there was a period when he goes centrally and drops deeper, there was a period where we were knocking it around, like just didn't really look like we were probing. No, that's exactly what we were doing. We were probing without really looking threatening. And then Odegaard drops into an area, and then suddenly the space is open, and then bang, like the amount of times I saw us completely split 2-3 lines yesterday because of the fluidity in the movement was absolutely outstanding. And yeah, I mean, he was central to it all. But that goes nicely onto, we spoke about him isolated against Moreno, taking on the one-on-ones. Yeah, Bukayo Saka. He was just having fun, weren't he?
He was, and for a guy that was rumored to be out for 2 to 3 weeks to put in that kind of performance is just, what can you say? I remember just before he scored being frustrated, thinking he's overrun this, he could have laid this ball off, and then somehow he cuts the ball back between two defenders and over the keeper, and it's in. It's like, how have you done that? How did you find the space from me thinking you were going to lose the ball to it being in the back of the net and we're celebrating? It's just, yeah.
I was
This
the exact
kid's
same.
star.
I thought he held on to it for way too long. And there was he had a few chances, to be fair, in this game. Like there was another one where I think he hesitated and then the kind of angle closed down a little bit and he got the shot off, but it was saved or ricocheted wide. There was another one where the ball came to him and he did his kind of trademark shot across the floor, but it was a little bit too central, didn't quite hit the corner. But yeah, for that goal, what a finish. And yeah, Odegaard was the one that obviously played the ball through the two defenders, and then Saka did that bonkers run where I thought he was holding on to it for too long. Yeah, what a performance, like you say, to put a shift in like that. Yeah, when we all thought he'd be out for a while. I think it was quite refreshing as well with like the secondary positive thing that comes with the kind of possessional dominance is Saka isn't needing to run back like a fucking horse. Like we just consistently had him in the middle to final third. Like I don't remember seeing him track back yesterday. And like that's what we need to be doing. We need to sustain our dominance so we can keep him in those high areas. We don't want him tracking back and working himself into the ground. And yeah, so yeah, what a performance, what a goal. He obviously played it back for Partey, so he got the assist for that goal. What a finish that was from Partey. We'll talk about the subs in a bit. I'll go to Trossard before we go to Jesus. So, any thoughts on Trossard's performance?
I thought he had a very good game, and he's probably his best game. I don't want to say this season, but his best game in the past 4 or 5, where I think he's really let himself down just before the international break. What he did yesterday kind of showed what we expect of Trossard. He was always available, always finding space to be available and be there as an option. I think I can only remember one mistake that he made. It was a bad mistake, but yeah, I think
What was the mistake?
it was we countered and he had a pass he could have made to the outside and he passed it to Jesus on the inside. Yeah,
I remember that.
I remember Arteta, you pointed it out, Arteta was going crazy on the touchline with him
Arteta
as
went
well.
mental, didn't he?
Yeah. So that was the only negative from his performance was that one little decision that we could have obviously potentially had. I can't remember who it was. Marino maybe's on the wing through instead. But yeah, I think that's the Trossard that we've grown to love. Whereas the past few games, I felt he was playing for himself. That was very much more a team performance.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I would have like constructive criticism on him is I think he's someone who like if you had to generalize football IQ, we always say his is great, right? Because he tends to arrive in the right like he may not be influencing a game, but he tends to arrive in the right areas and moments to score. And to do that requires a certain level of football IQ. If I can break down football IQ into finishing and then knowing where the ball should be distributed, I think he needs work on the latter. Like you spoke there about Marino was available on the left and he smashed it into Jesus and it was the wrong option. I think he did that a couple of times where the ball needed to go or be protected out wide and he kind of smashed it into a central area where it just gave Forest a potential dual opportunity or it just forced a risky pass. And I think that's an element of his game that I guess if I had to summarize it, it's ball security. I think that's something he can improve on. I do think he loses it a little bit too easily in certain areas, but overall yesterday I thought he was good. Spoke about him kind of drifting all over, making himself available. There was one like when I said I don't know how the first half was 1-0. I think him and Jesus had a little bit of a cock up, didn't they? Quite early on.
Yeah, I think they were both left it for each other when one of them just needed to snatch it. I think that's what my memory of it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember specifically what it was, but it was something like that. Which takes us on to the main man himself, Gabriel Jesus. What did you think about him? I'm just checking. Did he play the 90 minutes? He did play 90 minutes.
Yeah, so obviously I left just before extra added time started, so I don't know if you went off before that. But yeah, I think the game really passed him by. Uh, yeah, I just feel like he's definitely good as a someone that can be there for squad depth. But I think really we have to start looking at other players leading that line and providing the qualities that he's previously provided before. Don't ever remember at any point yesterday feeling excited like something was going to happen when he was on the ball on the edge of the box. As with Saka or Odegaard, you felt like if it left the foot, it's quite possibly being a shot on target and flying in. Or even when Partey took his shot, you knew that was as soon as it left his foot, it was flying in. But with Jesus, it just yeah, I'm not sure what his future is in the team anymore. And it's felt like that since maybe the start of the season. He's most available he's been since he's joined the club, and I think the team's passed him by. Yeah, that's trying to be kind with it, basically.
No, I think it's good to be honest. I find him a confusing one because I know I touched on the kind of Bayer Leverkusen game in preseason, and I did say like preseason caveats apply, but he looked great in preseason, and Arteta was purring like a cat about him in his pressers and like the way he spoke about him, saying there was a different energy around him and stuff. And in my opinion, I could see that in preseason, and then obviously got injured again, and he just looks so. Yeah, like it just looks like he's played. I don't know. It looks like he's at a different team. Like it just looks so like it's like we're playing with one. We talk about one brain football, right? And the kind of wavelengths and stuff. And it does feel like sometimes he's just doing his own thing. I agree. I think the game passed him by. But I take weird comfort in the fact that we literally won 3-0. I never had an element of stress yesterday. Like I
Mhm,
felt so it was an easy game. So easy. We dominated all areas of the game. I never once felt concerned once we went 1-0 up, to be honest. And for me, that's encouraging that if we can create games like that, we can afford to take a passenger. We can afford one passenger per game if we're
mhm,
playing to that level. And I don't mind it if it's him because I think if we're scoring 3 goals, if he's able to play 90 minutes, sure, he may not play great, but I'd like to see him get 5, 6 rolls of the dice to come to a definitive conclusion on him personally.
mhm,
That could be a gamble. There may be games where we don't dominate so much and we can't afford to take a passenger. But I think if there are games like that where we look so technically and physically dominant, I'd like to see him continue getting some minutes and just try build him up. I'm willing to try with him and not completely write him off, but at the same time, I want more from him because
mhm.
like he's one of the oldest experienced players in this squad, right? So there's an element of like, sure, I'm empathetic towards him, but at the end of the day, you're a fucking senior pro. Like, pull your finger out, get on with it. So yeah, I'm kind of torn between a rock and a hard place with him, but
Yeah,
I
you,
take. Oh, sorry, go on.
yeah. I was going to say you made a point earlier when we talked about Marine about how he was into the box, getting onto the end of some of the crosses that were whipped in. You could tell if maybe it was Havertz instead of Jesus playing in the team yesterday. Marino obviously wouldn't need to have been that player because it would have been Havertz that would have been getting on at the end of them, and you could tell the teams gotten used to knowing who was going to be in the box and where to find them, and Jesus just doesn't provide that same option as what Havertz does anymore. And yeah, I think he's probably got his times. I think if we had to come out of this game with a 0-0 draw and Jesus had the performance he had yesterday, people would have been baying at Arteta like, why did you rotate so much? Why did you not field the best 11 when they were all available? Why did you bench them? And it would have been a different conversation. So we've got to really measure these throws of the dice and which fixtures we can play them on.
Yeah, big time. Like West Ham away, I feel like we can get away with playing him there, but Man United at home, not sure. I think we've
No,
got Fulham in between somewhere. Like
Fulham's one will have to be on the
a
ball with as well.
Havertz,
They've looked very
yeah.
good. Yeah.
But yeah, you obviously spoke about what Havertz gives us. He's someone that got a full rest, didn't come on. We'll touch on that in terms of the Sporting game. In terms of the subs, we spoke about Partey's goal. Zinchenko was good to see him get
Mhm.
fairly substantial minutes. Like he came on in the 67th minute for Calafiori. Obviously, it was Calafiori's first game back, so I think that was just load management. Then the double subs in the 82nd, 83rd minute was Nwaneri and Sterling on for Odegaard, Saka, and I think
I,
that's a manager's dream, right? When
yeah,
um, well, yeah, one guy assists the other and scores. I don't know if you could hear the guy in front of us. Did you
All
hear
I
it?
heard was, yeah, just he hated Sterling all of the way through. It was just like, even watching him warm up, I don't think he was watching the game. He's watching everything Sterling was doing and just critiquing it. It's just like, come on, man, just enjoy the game and just enjoy we're 2-0 up at this point. Just let him play football. There's no pressure on now. Let's see what he can do. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. The guy in front of us did not like Raheem Sterling at all. But yeah, I was happy for him that again he was able to. Okay, granted, it's not quite the game time Zinchenko got, but it was still considering how much added time there was. Yeah, he still got 10, 15 minutes in a game state where we were comfortable. And yeah, like a couple of his touches seemed a little bit off, but the fact that he got the assist for Nwaneri is great. And yeah, Nwaneri, I think, is now our second youngest goal scorer in the Premier
yeah,
League.
just behind Cesc, yeah.
Yeah, so fair play. And he's just someone like he just looks legit. Like he looks like he belongs every time he plays. Like I loved his first action was gets the ball, drops the shoulder, turns faces, drives with it, does a step over, then like granted it went wide, but the courage to do that, take that shot from outside the box. Like he's got a fucking beard and shit. Like he looks like a man. Like he doesn't look 17 years old. And the way he plays, we are sitting on a gold mine with him. Another fantastic cameo. Every cameo he's come on in has been great. He has obviously done great in his starts against Bolton and Preston. I really hope we go far in the FA Cup, but just so we get to see more of Ethan Nwaneri, because I don't think he'll get any Premier League starts unless there's like a bad injury crisis. But is there an element of like, feel free to talk about his performance. Is there an element of regret in terms of whether he should have been used more without
I've,
Odegaard from you?
I've not felt that it's been mismanaged in the slightest. Arteta said it himself yesterday, I think was just after the match, that with Ethan, he knows what he can be. And he says, I'm trying to build up a player. If you build a wall and just put 5 bricks with no cement, it's just going to fall down. I don't want to put that pressure on him and make it so that he has unrealistic goals and press and stuff's just theirs. I'm obviously ad-libbing a lot here. He says, what I'm trying to do is put 1 brick and then a bit of cement and another brick and build him up. And he says by the end of the season, he should be in the team and he should be starting games. But right now, I don't want to throw him in and then have him crumble when we could possibly nurture him and bring him into the team and let him become the player that he can grow into. So
I saw that quote.
yeah,
I really like that. What do you think he mean? What in that analogy? What do you think the cement is in terms of footballing with?
I think it's probably just letting him grind out and earn his way into the team. I think if he's just put in there based on, well, you're the only fit player of that position, then he probably gets too comfortable. We've seen it with other players that have broken through youth systems at our club and many others where they've got into the team and then become nobodies. Like Charlie Patino, I think he was expecting just to be chucked straight into the limelight because he'd had a fantastic run in the Championship. And then, is it Deportivo now or something like that? And I don't think he's even starting there. And it's just kind of like, I think Arteta's learned those lessons from some youth players. So now he's just like, okay, I really need to look after and build this player's career and make sure he's got the right people and right structure and right mindset before he can break into this squad.
Yeah, the way I interpret it is like the bricks are the performances, and then the cement is like the kind of analysis and like the kind of psychological and tactical coaching in the weeks. And like it's kind of like, when you marinate food, like you kind of just leave it to set a little bit, right? Like I think that's kind of what it is probably. But yeah, just unbelievable. He just I don't know. His technique, his power, we are blessed with him. So yeah,
Yeah.
good to see him get on and get his first goal for us. Good to see Sterling get on, get some minutes and contribute with an assist. Jacob Kivior came on, so it was good to see him get a few minutes. He went over to I can't work out if he was right-sided centre back or right back because I did see in different spells Saliba the furthest right and then Kivior. So fuck knows. But either way, he got minutes. Yeah, and I think like we'll just briefly touch on the kind of match stats, but all in all, perfect day for the squad, in my opinion. Literally perfect day for the squad. And that hopefully takes us into Sporting in like really good, healthy shape. Yeah, I think on Friday we spoke about Forest being a potential banana skin. Like, absolutely wasn't, and the data backs it up. Like, it was just domination. So for podcast listeners, got the usual on the YouTube. Sorry, on the graphics on screen for those live on YouTube. Mark our StatSpot data. So the data in this game, according to his model, was we had 1.63 expected goals to their 0.34. We had 1.45 threat to their 0.8. We had 66% possession. Our field tilt was 67.5, and our defensive action height was 47.9. So domination in all areas. And I think for me, like, just looking at this graph, like, it's a steady increase in expected goals, but look at that sharp shoot pretty much from kickoff. Like, it was such a dominant start, and how it took us 14 minutes to get the first goal, I have no idea. Like, really impressive start. I feel like we haven't had many of those fast starts in a while, so it was
It
good to
felt
see.
like 2022 Arsenal again with how quick we came out of the blocks yesterday.
Yeah, big time. I just think we overwhelmed them. Like, we just look great. So if we can maintain, because I think this is the thing, like, people speak a lot about, like, oh, you don't want to burn yourself out and you want to peak at the right time. Like, we looked like we obliterated them without really getting out of second, third gear in elements yesterday. It was fast, aggressive, but controlled, and I think we struck a nice balance there. So yeah, that's the data. Anything from you want to add on that?
No, I'm just surprised by how low the XG was. I think I said during the first half, I was like, I'd love to see what the XG is on this performance, because it just felt like by half time we could have and should have probably been like 3 or 4 up at that point. So quite surprising it's so low, but obviously there were just a lot of small XG shots, but it just felt like we were constantly just had them under pressure throughout that first half.
Yeah, it's definitely lower than I thought as well. There will be, like, all models are different. There probably will be models that has us closer to 2. But yeah, it was complete domination, which was great. And I don't think Forest had a shot on target as well in the game. So yeah, that was good to finally get one of those deserved clean sheets from a game where we just completely shut out an opposition again, because even that games have been a little bit too leaky for my liking recently. In terms of ball progression, in terms of passing and carrying, I think this just nicely ties everything we said already together. So this again is from Mark our stat spot. Saka and Odegaard just in a world of their own in terms of the progression via carrying and passing. Like, their combination and them as a pod was just a joy to watch. Saliba spoke about a much better game from him, in my opinion. His passing was cleaner and crisper, and he did carry it a couple of times as well, going through the thirds.
With
Gabriel, so go for it, mate.
I was going to say, with Saliba's carrying progression, can I ask you a question? Do you think, with the way Gabriel at times was the deepest defender, do you think if Rice is the 6, that would see him sit alongside Gabriel to allow Saliba, Timber, Calafiori to be the ones to be the next line after the attacking trio?
Yeah,
Marino?
maybe. I don't know, because I think Rice is also quite a good carrier as well, right? So I wonder if there was an element of that actually. Like, Rice not being in there gave Saliba the kind of remit to go. Yeah, I'm not sure. What about you? What do you think?
I can see there could be games where Rice is trusted to be the centre back, but on the halfway line, when obviously the rest of the team can do what they need to do forward, which just obviously allows the likes of Saliba and the fullbacks to provide support to the attacking group. So
Yeah.
that's what I was hoping to see yesterday, and I hope is does show at some point what we can see from Rice at the 6, and if Marino at the 8 can obviously give us some sort of different dynamic.
The one thing I'd say on Saliba is I think he's only comfortable carrying from the first to middle third. I think he gets very overwhelmed very quickly the higher he goes into the pitch, because I don't think his pass selection is actually great, in my opinion. Like, especially like in the final third, I think he looks like a fish out of water sometimes when he gets into the higher end of the pitch. So I think it's only a case of, like, carry it from the middle, from the first phase to the middle phase, and then give it off to someone else that's technically better than him. Yeah, I think he's got a lot more in his game to improve compared to the average Arsenal fan, in my opinion. But maybe I'm being a prick and very hypercritical.
There's always room for improvement. So if it helps make us better, then absolutely. Let's put the
Indeed.
positive feedback out there.
So yeah, that was the Forest review. Anything that you feel like we may have missed before we spend a few minutes touching on the Sporting Lisbon game?
No, I think what was nice to see, obviously Ethan celebrating with Sterling. You can see how much just in the behind the scenes stuff that they put on the Twitter is just how much those two have bonded. So even if the most positive thing that comes out of Sterling's loan is helping Ethan break into the squad, I think that's something we should be happy about. He might not be a player for the future, but Sterling's obviously making some positive impact on the youngsters. So that's maybe the only thing.
Yeah, nicely said. That is a very good point. Yeah, when I was looking for photos to put in the thumbnail, yeah, did see them having a nice cuddle and looking very happy. And I must say to any Forest fans watching, sorry for butchering your logo. I am not. Sorry,
Uh-oh.
I think my connection went there for a
Yeah.
second. Yeah, I was saying to any Forest fans that are watching, sorry for butchering your logo. I'm not a graphic designer, and your logo is literally red, and we're Arsenal. Our whole designs are red, so I had to go find a black and white one. Sorry. Yeah, sporting preview. I am in the mood for this. So, Champions League. Just while I find some data that I did have but have now lost. What's your thoughts on the new format? We're obviously halfway through it. How are you finding?
I'm really enjoying it. I know a lot of people have had some negative things to say, but I think some of the surprising results that this league format's chucked out with, obviously being drawn against teams at the same seed and obviously having to play stronger teams in the first round, I think is really exposing a lot of the bigger teams for just how gifted they were. Some runs into the deeper stages of the Champions League. So now that you're having to play the better teams earlier, it's really making people think and really making them have to respect these smaller teams a lot more, because they could nick a knockout spot from one of these bigger teams, and throw cat amongst the pigeons is probably the words I'm looking for.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. To be fair, I think yeah, I mean, literally this week we've got Liverpool, Real Madrid. I'm sure there's some other fixtures that have escaped me off the top of my head, but we've got Bayern, PSG this week. Yeah, there's some really good fixtures, and I think the first few match days felt a little bit irrelevant, but I think we're now getting into a stage where we're halfway through the league format and we're gonna start seeing churn in the table. Even take this game as an example. Sporting are actually second on 10 points. There's 4 teams on 10 points, which are Monaco, Brest, and Inter. Inter play Leipzig. Okay, Leipzig, granted, they have lost all 4, but I don't know what it is. I still look at them as a team like, oh, they'll be difficult. Monaco and Brest, who have they got? Monaco play Benfica and Brest. Brest have really surprised people. I can't find who they've got, my bad. But Brest are away at Barcelona. So if we win this game, we go on the same points as Sporting Lisbon. I'm assuming Brest will lose against Barcelona. That may be harsh, but I think we're now going to start to see some movement in this table. And in terms of the objective for Arsenal is obviously finishing in the top 8, right? Like, I think, is it a must? I'm not convinced. Like, I think either way will qualify. It would be great to avoid those 2 extra games, but are 2 extra games going to kill our season? I'm not sure they will. I think our depth is starting to look more comfortable. It would be great, obviously. So let's work on the assumption top 8 is the goal. I don't think we need to win all 4 of our games. I think we need 3 wins and a draw. That would be 10 points to add to our 7. So that would put us on 17 points. And I think that would see us through in the top 8. And with the games we've got left, it's Sporting away, Monaco at home, Zagreb at home, Girona away. I think this is the toughest game we've got left, Sporting away. So how are you feeling going into this game before we touch on what we think the team will be?
Would it be weird to say I'm undecided? I think
No, go for it.
Obviously, Sporting have just lost the manager, so be very interesting to see what changes to their structures come in. They've looked very good, and obviously the striker's just had a phenomenal year. He's on everyone's radar, obviously. So I think away from home is going to be a very difficult match. And chips on the table. I've just looked at the actual league table. I think it is probably one where we'll have to play the strongest 11. So that's probably why we're seeing some rotation, and probably we'll see some rotation at West Ham as well, because it has to be this in the Man U game where we do see our strongest team get those 3 points on the board and really try and get some security in the Champions League structure. Make sure we don't drop down and climb up instead.
So before I ask you to give your predicted 11, do you think the team he being Arteta, picked on Saturday against Forest, was influenced by having Sporting Lisbon away on Tuesday, or do you think it was genuinely just to give the likes of Jorginho, Trossard, Jesus minutes, and them being better suited to play against Nottingham Forest?
I think now thinking about it, I think it was with one eye on the midweek game. I think if it had been maybe the Sparta game, anything like that, I think we probably wouldn't have seen that level of rotation, because this would have been the tougher game. But I think, yeah, Sporting sandwich between Forest and West Ham, it really has that has to be the fixture that sees the stronger 11.
Yeah, so I think it's a combination, because I just look at the changes and there was a clear identity he went with in terms of technical ability. Like, I think if it was 1 or 2, I'd be like, oh, okay. But the fact that it was Jesus, Trossard, and Jorginho, that just screams he wanted technique, like real good close control pocket players. And I think he's looking at the Sporting game as, I want my kind of pace, power in there. I don't think he needed it, in his opinion, against Forest. So, like just on Sporting Lisbon, I think this is going to be tougher than I thought. Like, I don't really know what the impact will be of their, like, have they played without Amorim already? They must have done. Oh, yes. They won 6-0.
Do they have the new manager now?
I don't know. I'm trying to find what was their latest game. Yeah, so 6. Okay, so they played in the Portuguese Cup on Friday. And annoyingly, the app I'm using isn't showing me the starting 11, but they won 6-0 on Friday. Their last league game was on the 10th of November. So interesting. I wonder if there's like a winter break thing going on there or something. Or no, like it was international breaks,
break,
and then they went straight into a cup weekend, actually. So yeah, okay, that's interesting. But here we go. So Sporting Lisbon are unbeaten in, where is it gone? They haven't lost in 18 matches, so they're unbeaten in 18 matches, and they've won their last 9 in a row.
Crazy.
In terms of them in their league in Portugal, they've won 11 of 11. They are by miles the top goal scorers. I think obviously influenced by the big Swedish lad up top, Gyökeres. They've scored 39 goals. The next highest scorers are Porto with 28. They've conceded 5. The next best I can see is Benfica, who have conceded 7. So yeah, they're 33 points out in front, 6 points ahead of Porto. So it's going to be tough. From what I saw in the Sporting Man City game, I think we can absolutely get at them. I think City had chances. I'm not saying Sporting didn't deserve to win. I'm just not sure it was a 4-1 score game at all, in my opinion. So yeah, I think it'll be a tough game, but I think with a fully fit squad, I think our ability to maintain and control a game, but then power up from the bench is now looking very good. So yeah, I'm feeling all right going into it. I don't think a draw would be awful, because I think we can win the remaining 3 that we've got left. But it would be obviously great to give ourselves some buffer room, something that we haven't had in the Premier League, and go there and get a win. What is your predicted 11 on Tuesday against Sporting?
I think it's the same 11. Zinchenko in at left back.
Zinchenko at left back. Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, go for the whole team, then I'll ask you questions.
So Ria, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko. Zinchenko, because obviously Calafiori is just fresh back from injury, and it gives a chance to rotate him out. And Zinchenko is obviously very good on the ball. and can provide obviously that extra inversion into midfield as well to provide support. I think we'll see Partey at the base, Odegaard and Merino again, and Martinelli, Havertz, Saka.
No Rice?
I think possibly still give him the bit of rest. If it's a broken toe, I think maybe they're just going to let that heal and just, if he's needed, bring him off the bench. But like yesterday, we didn't need him in the end, so just left him where he was.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I hadn't really thought of I just, in my head yesterday, I was like, oh, yeah, fine. Havertz, Rice back in on Tuesday. But
I lost you again.
sorry, YouTubers. Yeah, internet is being very unstable. We've only got a few minutes left, so thank you for bearing with us. Yeah, I don't know what the last thing you heard of me there was, but I was just saying I just assumed yesterday, like, oh yeah, Rice Havertz will be back in on Tuesday, but you've now made me think, yeah, Rice won't be risked until he's needed, if at all, and hopefully give him another full week to rest and recover before West Ham and reassess Friday before we go there. So my only change to your 11 is I think at left back it will be Calafiori again. I think it will be a very similar minute split where like Calafiori will start the game and Zinchenko will finish it rather than the other way around. Just being in Europe, like, yeah, I think away from home. I think if it was at home, Zinchenko probably would have started and Calafiori seen it out. I think if Rice was fit, there was an element of me that was thinking, oh, I wonder if he'll go Partey right back, Timber left back.
Yeah, that's
Rice.
another thing I thought of as well, because at the minute, if you look at the team, Partey is the backup right back, so it's whether the risk Partey starting and having no obviously registered right back on the bench. So, but yeah, I think it's a Partey start and just give Rice that extra few days just to keep recovering.
Yeah, so so my predicted 11 is Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Partey, Marino, Odegaard, Saka, Havertz, Martinelli. And yeah, it was just so nice to be able to give Havertz a full rest on Saturday as well, because I thought he looked a little bit fatigued towards the end of the last block. So
yeah, I think he played every minute in the league at that point, hadn't he? So definitely a deserved rest. It was a surprise not to see him there, but when you look back and count through what he's played through, it was obviously something he needed.
Yeah, agree. Score prediction. So I'm assuming, based on what I've just read out in terms of their form and statistics, they're probably the most informed team in Europe.
I just tried a quick scroll through, and I can't see when they last got beat at home, so I don't want to keep scrolling and put that on myself. So I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw.
2-2. Interesting. Yeah, go on. Do you want to elaborate how you kind of see it going?
I think how do I see it going? I think it'll be a very open game, and I think we haven't travelled that well in Europe still, and it's still the one thing Arteta just hasn't got right is how well we travel abroad. So I do think we'll have times where we'll be sloppy, but have enough going forward to balance that out. And I think Sporting will have enough just to keep themselves in the game and make sure that they take something from it as well. And I think it'll be a game where neither team sends too much forward to lose it at the end once we're level at 2-2 towards the end.
Nicely done. I think similar. I think I'm going for a draw. I don't. Similar to what you said, to be honest. Like, we just don't travel well. I do think that the Inter Milan game, I think people were going overboard on how good we played, but I do think it was an improvement, but an improvement from the bar that was on the floor, which was post Newcastle, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were just spamming fucking crosses. Like, I didn't think from open play we looked like we were going to create anything, even though I think we controlled the game relatively well. I think if we play like we did against Inter, we have a slight chance of winning this game. But despite everything I've said about their form, I don't think they'll be as tough as Inter. So I've predicted 1-1. I can see substantial periods in this game where we actually look relatively controlled and calm and completely dominant. But whether that translates into clear-cut opportunities, I'm not sure. So I'm going to hedge my bets. Going to go 1-1. But To be honest, as I was speaking there, I think I was talking myself into a win there. So fuck it, I'm changing it. I'm going for a
I think
3-1 win.
I think at home I would bag a 3-1 win. I don't think it's just the travel element really that's putting me off
Yeah, fair
being
play.
fully confident.
No, that's all good. Yeah, that's a wrap. So just over the hour done. Thank you for bearing with the technical difficulties. I'll have a look into that. But yeah, Bobby, thanks a lot for your time. Where can
No
people
problem.
follow you on the socials?
Blue Sky is probably best because once they get group chats, I will be deleting Twitter. So it's just Bobby Love on the Blue Butterfly app now.
Very nice. I will not be going on Blue Sky because I'm trying to remove social media. So if Twitter does shut down, I will just be off social media, which sounds like the fucking dream. But yeah, thank you again to everyone for listening, watching. Appreciate the love as always. If you are watching on YouTube, please drop the stream a like. Yeah, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. We saw in our analytics 50% of our viewers aren't actually subscribed. So if that's one of you that watches us regularly and you aren't aware that you're not subscribed, maybe have a look, click the button if you weren't aware. If you're listening on podcast, it would be great if you could give us a 5-star review. But the thing that I always say is if it's something that you enjoy and you love Arsenal and you think your friends would love it, the biggest thing that helps us is just sharing the word. Like we're quite a small show, literally just like normal match going fans. So yeah, share it within your Arsenal group chats and tell us your feedback. Bobby, thanks again. It was great to spend time with you yesterday. Great to watch the game with
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Apologies for the weird noises I make when Martin Odegaard's on the ball. I can't help myself, but
I'll
hopefully,
happily put up with more then for more performances like that.
hopefully we get to see more of it on Tuesday. Yeah, on to Sporting, and then Nima and I will be back on Friday. We will preview the West Ham game and obviously touch on the Sporting game. Bobby, thanks again. Cheers, everyone. Up the Arsenal.
Love the Arsenal.